Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, Tina and Teens. Today is story time. I'm telling you a story of what happened in the Bible, in the Old Testament, 2 Samuel 13, 1 to 20. So you can read it up. Because I don't want this video to be long, that's why I'm going to just tell the story, okay? But please read it. So it was about a lady called Tamar. Tamar was David's daughter, a princess, and she had a brother called Absalom, and they had another brother, their half brother actually, called Amnon. So Amnon fell in love with his sister Tamar, and he was so in love with her that he became ill. And he had a friend called Jonadab. Jonadab came to him and asked what was wrong with him. He told him that he was in love with his half-sister Tamar. And Jonadab gave him an advice to pretend that he was ill so the father can come and visit him and then they can send for his sister. So Amnon did exactly that. He sent for his father. The father came to visit him and he requested of his father to call his sister Tamar, that he wants the sister to bake for him. And the father granted him his request. And the sister Tamar came, she baked for him. He was watching her baking. And after finished baking, he sent everyone out, like all the servants in the house. And he now asked her to bring the bread into his bedroom. And she brought it into his bedroom. And then he now grabbed her. And what happened? He raped her. Yes, that was a sad story. He raped her. And after raping her, he threw her out. He asked the people to throw her out. And she cried and then went to her brother Absalom. And Absalom was really furious about that. And David heard of it, and David didn't do anything. He was annoyed, but he didn't, the Bible didn't tell us that David did anything against that or that he punished Amnon. He didn't. So this is where the story ends. No, the story did not end there. You can continue reading the story, but this is where I want to analyze what happened in this story. I am going to talk about each character of that partook in this story and what lessons we're going to learn from it. So, okay, let's start with Tamar. Tamar, she was a righteous, holy lady. She was good and obedient, She was required to go to her half brother to cook for him, and she did so. She was just a normal, princess. And, I think what I'm going to say about her is Tamar didn't know how to say no. She didn't know the limit. She didn't know, like in our society today, if you are a teenager or a young adult, learn to say no. Learn to know your boundary. Know when you are supposed, like the brother said, come to my bedroom. Okay, she was unsuspecting. She went to the bedroom, and that is where the act happened. So she was kind of so naive. Don't be naive in this world, because a lot of bad things happen. Be careful where you go. Be careful the kind of friends you go to. Be careful not to be alone with the opposite sex alone, because ungodly things can happen. So that is the lesson we're learning from Tamar. Okay, now let's go to Amnon. Amnon fell in love with the wrong person. It's not bad to fall in love. You can fall in love when, like teenagers can have crush. It's normal. It's a human thing. But what you do with it is what matters. Sometimes, if you have a crush on someone, you can pray about it. You can someone can advise you, a Christian, because it's not yet time for you to date. When you are ready to date, to marry, that's when you are actually supposed to, having all those words. But this ordinary crush that he had in the sister, it was an unholy act to fall in love with your half-sister. And he now also acted on it. He now became ill because of it. He should have kind of used maybe a hobby, do something to have just gotten over it. But he didn't. Instead, he became sick, leading to the extent that his friend now came to ask him what was wrong. And he now confided in his friend. So be careful of the kind of friends you keep. Negative peer pressure. It was the friend Jonadab that gave him the advice to send for the king, to tell the king David to bring his sister. He had the wrong friend. It reminds me of what the Bible says: evil communication corrupt good manners. Birds of a feather flock together. So be careful with the kind of, because negative friends, negative peer pressure, it can influence you. It can make you to do what you're not supposed to do. Just imagine if he had told somebody nice, somebody that's not crafty like his friend Jonadab, just imagine the person would have given him a better advice and say, oh, please get over it. This is your sister. This is an abomination, you know. But what did he do? He gave him a wrong advice. A wrong advice that led to a lot of hurts, you know. So be careful of the kind of friends you keep. Be careful of falling in love with the wrong person. Okay, so that leads me to Jonadab. Jonadab was a crafty man. He was very crafty. He was not a good friend at all. There are people everywhere that like to sow seed of, let me say, negative seed into your life. You know, seed with words. They will tell you a word that will still run in your head, and you will, before you know, you start acting on it if you are not discerning enough. If you don't know, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. He came like a wolf in sheep's clothing and said, oh, you can do this. He gave the bad advice. Be careful of the Jonadab of this generation. If you are a teenager watching me, or a parent, be careful the kind of friends that flocks around your children. Be careful the kind of friends you keep. If your friends keep giving you bad advice, before you know it, you will kind of, one day you are going to accept it. One day you are going to fall into that trap of, you know, you might say, no, I can go out with bad friends and they're not going to influence me. Believe me, they are going to influence you one day, you know. So be careful of that. And that leads us to David. Yes, King David. King David, what was so annoying to me in this story was King David didn't do anything about this incident that happened between his son and his daughter. He did not punish, the Bible did not state that he punished Amnon for his act. And that led to jealousy, that led to hatred between Absalom, this brother of Tamar, and his half-brother Amnon. Both he now hated, and it is, I mean, it's understandable. I understand him. For him to hate his half-brother that raped his sister, that because the father didn't do anything about it. So he decided later to take laws into his hands, and later, 2 years later, he killed his brother. So I am not surprised we're still talking about David, the character. What are we going to learn? What is the lesson to learn? As parents, you have to be discerning. Imagine David, had it been David discerned in his spirit that something is wrong, why should he request for his sister, his half-sister, to come and beg for him? You know, if he had the discerning spirit, he would have noticed. But I'm not surprised, because David was actually a role model to what happened in his family, because in the two preceding chapters earlier on in this second Samuel, David looked at another man's wife and had her, killed the husband, and took another man's wife, Bathsheba, if you remember the story. So the children were kind of walking in his footsteps. So the children saw all those, and they are walking. You see how David looked upon Bathsheba when she was taking her shower. That is the way his son Amnon said, okay, let her bake in front of me while I watch. If you read that second Samuel. And he watched her. It was kind of the lust of the eyes. And what happened later? After lusting after her, he sent everyone away, and then he raped her. So David, it was like kind of a like father, like son situation. David didn't set a good example, and I'm not surprised. That's why Amnon didn't bear any consequences for his action. And that's why it led Absalom to be rebellious, and that's why Absalom killed his half-brother Amnon. So guys, as a parent, please be discerning in the spirit. Please be a good role model. We are not perfect, but we try to set good examples to our children to follow. And in the society, people always keep, you know, when abuse happens, people stay silent about it. Please, we should not stay silent when things like this happen, because look at how the life of Tamar was ruined. You know, she lived with her brother. She was just, the Bible didn't mention anything about her again. Her life was just ruined from this act that happened between her and her half-brother. So guys, thank you for watching. So if you like this kind of content, if you want me to be telling you stories, and then we'll be analyzing and doing what to learn from them, you know, the moral to learn from these lessons, please let me know by your comments. Please comment, please share, please like, and then I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.